righty, welcome to the STLK in the UTA Hive podcast. Something new we're doing. I'm Conjo, and we are happy to have Eric Mika on with us today. Thanks for hopping on, Eric.
Yeah, man, I'm really excited to be here. This is an awesome setup you got.
I mean, there's a million titles I can call you by. I mean, we've got former BYU Cougar overseas,
two.
NBA, G League Ignite player right now. I mean, there's a million.
There's a million.
And so, I mean,
there's four.
There's four. Hey, that's more than we usually got on here.
State champion.
State champion. I mean,
national champion.
I was gonna say, is that
high school? I only bring that up because that's the peak of my existence.
Well, no, that's the thing is that's what I kind of know you by.
Yeah.
I was like 13 years old.
Yeah.
I'm worshiping this national championship team. I have a T-shirt from Lone Peak basketball camp that says 4-time state championship, national championship.
Great
shirt.
And
so like it's kind of like an insane moment to like skip forward, 10 years and like here we are. And so I think it's pretty cool. It's
in your basement.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. So
no, I'm very excited to be. I think what you guys are doing is really cool.
Awesome.
We obviously talked about that a little bit before we hopped on, but there's definitely a need for this, and I enjoy your guys' content. I think what you're doing is cool, and I think Utah is gonna latch on. So it's gonna be. I'm happy to be one of the early ones.
You're joining on early, so we're happy to have you on here. But first off, Thanksgiving last week.
Yeah.
How was it?
Yeah, Thanksgiving was kind of crazy. Right now I'm injured.
Well, you're in Henderson, Nevada.
Yeah.
Correct?
So I'm in Henderson with Ignite, but I got knee surgery a month ago. Actually, I was on crutches the entire month until yesterday yesterday was the first day that I actually walked, which was great. My foot was so weak. I felt like I was walking on rocks because it just like hadn't touched anything for so long. Anyways, I digress. So I'm in Vegas, but I'm with the team when they practice.
Okay.
As long as I'm on crutches, I don't travel with the team. So they did a lot of traveling last week. So I drove to Utah after one of our games with my family just so my wife didn't have to drive the two little kids by herself and the dog. I mean, it's psychotic, even in two. So drove them, flew back to Vegas the next day, practiced for a couple of days, flew into Utah, was with the family in Heber, and then all six of my siblings were in town, so that was fun. That never really happens. And then we're gonna drive down to Vegas today. Cool. Once we're done with this. So
what's your go-to like Thanksgiving side dish? Not mean things. You didn't get your turkey, but the side dish.
There's one answer, and that's stuffing.
See, that's a hot take.
No, it's not a hot take.
That's a hot take.
That's the only take.
That's a hot take.
It's only hot because it's a hot dish.
See, like I couldn't even tell you what mine. I think I'm going like green beans, maybe.
Green beans as your favorite.
You throw some salt on there, it gets good. I mean,
it gets good.
I'm kind of.
Whoa! Are you hearing the words coming out of your mouth?
I'm kind of like thrown off because I'm like I wasn't expecting to hear stuffing.
Why? There's nothing else.
I feel like that's like it's like people were like, oh, like I'm sure it's stuffing. Like it's kind of like got like a bad reputation. No, maybe I just haven't had good stuffing.
No, you're just making stuff up.
Maybe I just haven't had good stuffing.
Maybe that's on whoever's Thanksgiving you've been attending. Green beans isn't the answer. Stuffing's the answer. I care more about. I look more forward to the stuffing than the turkey.
See that's okay. Turkey's overrated in my opinion.
I agree.
So at least we can agree.
We can finish. We can close that chapter with that.
So you spent Thanksgiving in Utah. I mean, obviously you grew up in Utah, correct?
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit more about what that meant to you and how that's still relevant. Today, being
growing
with
up in
the
Utah?
career you have. Yeah.
Utah is a special place for us. My wife is born and raised in Utah. I was Massachusetts, but then we moved here when I was 10. So middle school, high school, obviously college.
Yeah.
And then we have a house here in Lehigh. And everyone asks where I go in the off season, like when I get to a team, and I just tell them like Utah in the spring and summer is the best place in the world. I used to be a winter fan as well. Like back in the day when I would ski, back even in Massachusetts, we'd fly out, occasionally to visit family and ski. So like I loved it. But then when once you get into serious basketball, your coach will never let you ski.
No, yeah, I haven't skied in
exactly since eighth grade.
Yeah, since I was a kid.
Yeah. So that's when I stopped. So I don't really care for the winter, but like spring and summer, best place in the world to be. Like for real, like all that you can do outside. For me, the stage I'm in with my wife, we have two little kids, so there's a million things to do. Like it's very family centric, very family oriented. So I mean, we love it. Yeah. We love being here.
I mean, being a professional basketball player. I mean, I'm sure you've heard like there's negative connotation behind Utah. You know, when you tell a teammate like you're from Utah, like what's usually like the first response you get, or like kind of reactions that you typically see?
Probably what you would expect.
Yeah.
I mean, they think I'm lame.
Yeah.
Which I am.
No.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm cool. No, I have to fight for Utah. I tell them exactly what I just told you. It's been interesting though, because I feel like I normally have someone backing me up. You know, even right now on Ignite, I have David Stockton, who I'm really close with. We played together in Germany four seasons ago, and then we played together with Team USA. So I know him really, really well. We played against each other in college.
Yeah.
And he grew up in Utah. You know, he lived here till he was 14.
Yeah.
You know, so anytime someone brings up Utah or starts hating on it because we have to travel here, or we talk about where they don't want to get drafted with these young guys, I always have someone to back me up. And that's because they're the people that have experienced it. You know, people hate on Utah until they actually live here or visit here for an extended period.
Oh, 100%.
Not just a layover or not just a single game that they're coming to town for. You know, so David has backed me up this year as well. John Jenkins, who he was in the league for a long time, very close with Darren Williams. You know, Darren still lives here, and that's for a reason. You know,
that's like, pretty common too.
Yes. So I have guys backing me up, but the reaction usually is like, oh, what is there to do? And you know, I admit, like, if I'm a young single guy, like, I probably don't want to spend my off season here, you know, and if I'm not into the things that I was raised being into, but once someone gives it a chance, I think it's the best place in the world to be.
I mean, that's all it is, right? I mean, look at David Stockton, right? He probably doesn't have like a ton of memories from Utah, but even just having like a small tie to it, like feeds into, you know,
he
the
was here
future
till he was
conversation.
like 14, 15. Like, that's
old enough.
That's decent enough.
Yeah,
you know, he became a man here.
But that's crazy though. It's just like he became a man here, but he'll still stick his neck out for Utah at any given time.
Yeah.
And I think that's how it is for majority of people that come out of Utah.
Yeah. There's definitely a misunderstanding, you know, of what Utah is about. I also think it's changed. It's grown. There's a lot more open-mindedness. There's a lot more inclusion. There's a lot more things to do. Like, it's been a conscious effort, I think, by Utahns to change the narrative, and they've done a good job of it. I think Utah's a great place to be for anyone.
I completely agree.
I think we're on the same page.
We're on the same page. So I mean that's great. And so, you know, what a lot of people don't know is, you know, lacrosse was basically your first you know, sport. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then you actually, before Lone Peak, went to Waterford, which is a prep school, private school?
It's private school. Private school in Sandy. Again, kind of going back to my family moving from Massachusetts. I'm the fifth of seven kids. So big family. I was way down there down the line. And my older sisters all went to a really small school. I mean, that's kind of typical for over there. It was an all-girls school, so it was very small, very intimate. And I think moving completely across the country, you know, shocked my family.
Yeah.
My older siblings were all pissed. And so I think my parents just wanted something to be consistent. And so they said, hey, we found a great school. You know, the dean or the head, the principal, whatever, is also from the East Coast and kind of runs the ship like that. So it's a very small school, very good school. Great, you can get a great education there. And so they wanted to keep it consistent. So we all went there, and it's K through 12. So I went there starting in 4th grade, and then went there through 10th grade. And, you know, people ask me like, oh, you went to Lone Peak because of basketball.
Yeah.
But really I didn't, because I was a late bloomer. I mean, I wasn't great at basketball. You mentioned lacrosse was kind of my thing. And basketball was on there because I knew Nick, I knew TJ, I knew Talon, I knew Connor. But it's not like I was like, oh, I'm so good, I need to go to Lone Peak.
Yeah.
It was more like my cousin just moved to Alpine, and now he's going to Lone Peak. You know, he's my best friend. All my best friends my sophomore year were gone. They went to Brighton, Alta, Skyline. My older brother graduated. You know, he's one of my best friends. He graduated. Now we're not on the same teams anymore. So like, I was kind of, all my friends were gone. I wasn't having fun. It was a 30-minute commute. So I was like, I just want to go to Lone Peak. It's right down the street. And then basketball, of course, like, was starting to pick up because, you know, at that point, I think I kind of had hit my stride athletically. I had a good sophomore year, but it was 2A that I was playing. But then I played AAU with those guys again, and I was like, oh yeah,
I could do this.
I could do this. Like, I'm actually good. I'm dunking on dudes, and like, I've never really put much into it. So imagine if I put something into it. And it just kind of, everything kind of aligned. So it just made sense. And I begged my parents and they eventually let me go.
Yeah. And I remember like that age or like, I mean, watching you guys, and I remember like high school dunking was like not really a thing.
Yeah. Right.
And then you come in, right, and you start dunking on absolutely everything. And it was like the craziest thing ever.
Yeah, that was fun.
But like, when did basketball, you start to like take over lacrosse?
I think it was that sophomore year when I had some success at Waterford, which is also like I don't hate on Waterford at all. I just think for my circumstances, it was best for me to go to another school.
Well, competition's probably
for sure, but like
better.
I said, all those other things aligning, like it just made sense for me to go. But that year was crucial for my development because I got some attention. It's actually really funny. I got my freshman year lightly recruited by the University of Utah because our center, who was a senior, Neil Monson, was going there. And he played there for 1 year, but Jim Boylan was the head coach, and he came to our practice and he talked to me after, and I was like, "Oh, this is sick!" Like, what?
This is new.
This is like scholarship. Like I didn't ever think about like an athletic scholarship until later on, but the fact that he was saying how good I could be, I was like, "Dang, that's actually pretty cool." And then he actually full circle, he coached me with Team USA for 4 games last summer when we went to. We played in Vegas and Colombia and Cuba and Puerto Rico. So, I mean, pretty cool. That's neither here nor there. But I think that year was important and why I'm not against kids not focusing on the numbers and what their ranking is and how good their high school is, how many, points they're getting. Like, none of that. It's about playing and getting experience and getting a feel for the game because I was playing the whole game because – there was probably only 10 guys that tried out for the team. You know what I mean? So of course, yes, I was athletic and I was, naturally more gifted than most of the guys on the team, but that gave me so much opportunity and it gave me so much confidence to be like, oh, I can do this. I just need to do it on a higher level.
Yeah. And then you go to Olympique where, I mean, there's 100 people at tryouts.
Yeah, right.
Like just at tryouts alone.
Yeah. I mean, there's 100 people at tryouts, but we all know who's making the team.
No, for sure.
I think they have to have tryouts.
No, they only do it because you have to.
Yeah, because you have to.
I mean, you're playing tournaments before, like the team's already established.
Yeah, we played the whole summer
just
together.
a thing. And so we fast forward, we go to Olympique, right? And obviously this team is known, honestly, worldwide. Like it took a storm playing, about every NBA player that still exists has played or had some kind of run in with Olympique. And so, what made that team, in your opinion, so good?
Yeah, this is the question I think I get the most when people do remember that team. I think it's our coach. It's our coach, Quincy Lewis. Have to give him a shout out because he is so good at getting young guys to buy in. Yeah. Right. You hear coaches and media people, like even yesterday, I think I saw, some reel about some coach talking about everyone buying in. Like, it's hard to really know what that is until you're in it. And we were in it. And what it was we had guys who could have had egos. We had guys who could have been worrying completely about themselves and where they were going to school and getting theirs and their rankings and this, that, and the third, like worried about certain guys being elevated certain games and, not getting their, attention because our team was full of talent. Yeah. Our team was full of guys going to play college in different places and in different sports, right? So
Talent
everyone,
Shumway.
Talent Shumway. Connor Toulson went and played at UVU and won a national championship in JUCO. Like guys could have been real energy drainers. And there was literally not a single moment of that. And that's because of Quincy. I think if he sniffed that out ever, in that whole process of years building up to that national championship, I mean, he'd squash it. Yeah. He would even make it up. Yeah. Like he would even act like we were doing it and we weren't. Yeah. And make us run, punish us. We won some, give you an example. We won some like AAU in-state tournament. It's basically just all the high school teams playing in the spring, right? I think it was at Timpanogos High School. I remember it was like the night before prom. You play back-to-back like 3 nights in a row. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. I don't know how. And I was probably eating like Skittles. No,
you got legs that could go for days back in those days.
I mean, it was psychotic. We win the last game by 20 to win the championship. Yeah. And he chews us out. It wasn't enough. We didn't give enough effort. I think by the end of the game, we had like 6 guys because guys were playing other sports. Guys were getting hurt. It was a lot. Yeah. He took us out on it finished out like 10:30, took us out on the track at Timpanogos, and we ran for like an hour and a half. I mean, it was crazy,
Jeez.
you know. But he set it up like, hey, you guys think you're something, huh? Like you guys think you're gonna do something cool, right? You know, like we weren't thinking that at all.
Yeah.
We just played decent, not our best, but we played decently. But he would sniff out these narratives, or like I said, he would invent them just so it was just pounded into our brains like, this is not about you. This is about us as a whole, as a collective. And it showed. Like, we had different guys stepping up every single night. We played so unselfishly, but then found that balance of playing like yourself and why you were there in that moment, you know, what you brought to the table. And I mean, it made a spectacular year. And, you know, I haven't really experienced anything like that since. You know, I've gotten close on a couple teams. COVID shut one of them down when I was in the G League with the Kings. But I mean, it's special to be part of a team that really buys in. And Quincy did that.
That's awesome. And so, you know, you finish out the year, you win the national championship, you get ranked 28th. Is that right? In ESPN?
Yeah, I think that sounds right. Yeah.
And this number 2 center behind a name that some people might know, Joel Embiid.
Never heard of him.
Some people might hear about him. I don't know. Maybe he's won an MVP or something. I don't know.
Look at us now.
Yeah. So like number 2 center behind Joel Embiid. It's crazy. I was looking. I think
you're hyping me up too much.
I'm just putting down what I see. It was 2. Number 2. There's a lot of good fours, but like true centers.
I think I was. Oh, okay. True
centers.
But they might have
2.
thrown in like some because I think I was technically number 4 center, but like true center. Okay,
true centers.
Yeah,
it was the number 2. So right. I might be giving you more credit, but I'm just saying what I say. What I saw.
I mean, he's unbelievable.
Yeah. So pretty crazy. And so you commit to BYU, right? Yeah. Along with the other Lone Peakers, you know, I grew up thinking this team is the national championship team. Like,
every year.
Like I went to every game, you know, it was the coolest thing, you know, watching, you know, you guys at my own, you know, future high school and then at my, you know, family's favorite university kind of thing. Right. So you go to BYU, right. And kind of go into a little bit more about your experience about BYU, you know, how, like, obviously you stayed in Utah, you're around your family. Yeah. And kind of this Quincy Lewis also comes up to BYU later.
Yeah. You know, BYU for me was an easy choice. All my older siblings went there. My parents went there. I grew up like you, a big BYU fan. And, you know, I just I grew up idolizing BYU. I wanted to play lacrosse there like my older brother. Yeah. Then I, you know, told you kind of basketball took over. And once that clicked, it was like, oh, I can go here for basketball. Like, cool. Like, awesome. Even better. I can just kind of stick to the plan, you know. So I don't have any regrets about going to BYU. It, you know, it changed my life. It was the best decision for me. I do wish I at least poked around though. You know, like the thing is my family didn't know anything about sports. Like none of my siblings really were recruited or had, you know, Division I offers to do anything. So we didn't really know the process. And looking back, I'm like, I should have gone to just look, you know, what is it like being at Michigan? What is it like being at Purdue, you know, like whatever school it was, like, I think it would have been good just to go look around. But at the end of the day, I think one way or another, I would have ended up at BYU. And so that's why I say I do not regret going there, just because it's such a fantastic school. You know, it allowed me to stay close to my family. It allowed me to play like me and be who I am. And, you know, it highlighted me. It helped me take it to the next level. Because it's like when I was in high school, I'd never really thought about, you know, getting a scholarship. Then when I was in college, I'd never thought about playing pro. I mean, I was just kind of like, this is cool, this is fun.
Play it by
I'm
your
going,
kind of thing.
Going to school for free. Like, but BYU elevated, you know, my game and then my ability to change my life with basketball.
Yeah. And so you declare for the draft, right?
Yeah.
And kind of go into what kind of decisions have to be made to make that kind of decision? Because that's a big decision.
Yeah.
And on top of that, what does that pre-draft process look like?
Oof, it's grueling.
Something I'll never know.
It is hard. It is hard, especially if you're like a fence guy, you know, because a lot of teams want to look at you. So the decision of the draft was hard because I was having a good experience at BYU. I was having a lot of success, but I think that's when finally I did kind of have this light bulb moment of like what it actually takes, you know? So I had this click where it's like, all right, I can play pro. I'm actually capable. I'm going to, but I'm 22 and I'm already being looked at as old, and there's obviously you could say, well, 23 isn't that much different than 22. And I do think it's different even now. How many years ago, how many drafts, 7 years ago, with NIL, with the portal, with COVID, I mean, there's guys coming out older. And so maybe it's seen in a better light. But I was being told like, hey, you're 22, like you've kind of done everything you can. You showed who you are, just go pro, start making money and improve as a professional. So that's what I did. That was kind of the main thing going into it, was like, where am I going to get better faster?
Yeah.
Right. And I felt like playing pro was going to do that for me. The draft process was really, really hard. I worked out with 16 teams. And I think a couple of them, the Kings I worked out with twice, maybe someone else. And so, I did like 16, 17, 18 workouts, and that's crammed into just a couple weeks. And that's a lot, that's a lot. Flying across the country, being evaluated on every little, they're watching you the second you walk in like, you don't realize. And I didn't realize, since I've been on the other side of it and talking to more coaches and scouts and GMs about it, like they know everything about you. They've done extensive research. They've talked to, like, they joke, but it's real. They've talked to janitors. They've talked to your strength coach. They've talked to
you've got eyes
teachers.
on you.
Yes.
Every second.
They know everything about you before you walk in the building, and then they're watching how you do everything. So I wonder if like they set me up in different ways and how I did, because I didn't get drafted. So I'm like, geez, what did I do wrong? But very hard. And then you're playing, with 5 other guys. They're very small. They're only 6-person workouts usually. And I'd say, the reason I was surprised and disappointed that I didn't get drafted was, one, because the feedback was that I was in the range of, late second round. I didn't expect to be much higher than that. But that was the feedback we were getting, and it was feedback coming from these workouts. Like I was killing these workouts, and I was in workouts with at least 3 or 4 guys that got drafted, and I was, playing just as well, if not better than them. So that's why it stung, because I just felt like I showed really well in those workouts, but that's just the name of the game. Like if you don't fit the perfect, fit that they're looking for, then you're not, they're not going to give you millions of dollars, and that's what makes the NBA really, really hard.
It's a business, right?
Yeah.
And you see a lot of guys that get drafted and you wonder why. You're like, I'm sure you had experiences like that. You're like, how on earth is this guy getting drafted? And then he probably never sees the floor. He's gone, whatever. Right. And you're like, that could have been me, kind of thing. Yeah.
I it is frustrating seeing, even now, like the call-ups, you're just like, that guy sucks.
Yeah.
Like the thing that bugs me, that hurts, is how much of it is on potential. And it's, so that's why it was confusing. Like I'm in these workouts kicking ass, and you're going to get this guy because he could be better than me.
Like a potential ceiling, like that
you have guys constantly, whether it's pre-draft or whether you have free agent workouts in the offseason or call-ups, you have guys that will come in and affect positively your locker room and the court and everything, every aspect of the game. They will come in and improve, your team situation, but you're gonna take a chance on this guy who maybe could, most likely won't. So that's what's weird about that business is, yes, it's a business, but it's like most businesses don't think like that. You know what I mean? So that's why when people are like, oh, it's like, yeah, it's a business, but most people will go with the proven,
what they already have shown. It's
exactly.
Like the biggest conception in business world is like experience. It's like, oh, well, you don't have enough experience. Where in the NBA world, it's like, oh, well, what you experience you could have, kind of thing. It's kind of a flip-flop thing. So I actually never really thought about it like that.
I get it. On the other side, I get it, because you do have, you have these Giannis's, you have,
but even then, actually, who would have thought? No one would have thought Giannis turns out that way.
And no one's been him since. That's I'm trying to like argue against myself, but I really can't, because it's like they're all looking for the next guy that doesn't seem like the guy, but then just turns into him. But that never happens. Like if they're the guy, they're going to be the guy from the jump. And so I just think the tanking for guys like Wembanyama, the the hoping for guys like Giannis, it's like there's only one of them.
Yep.
You know, there's not that many of them. So just get guys that are going to help you win. You know, even if they're a little bit older. Davion Mitchell, I know right now his role is a little bit reduced with the Kings, but he's a winner.
Yep.
He was a little bit older, but he showed that he knows how to win.
Yep.
And then he got to the Kings and helped that winning culture change.
I mean, and not only helped the winning culture, you know, like kind of thing, but they drafted him along with having 4 other point guards that they've drafted in years prior.
Right.
So it goes to show, like, not only positional wise, but they can look at a player and draft based off of that. Because they had at the time when they drafted him, Halliburton, which they ended up trading, but they have Fox, you know, they have a bunch of point guards, and everyone was like, well, why draft a guy like Davion Mitchell? And it fits that exact
because they
mold.
finally figured out what was important.
Yeah.
You know, not that, you know, Halliburton and Fox are winners too, but they're like, get more winners on the roster and you'll win.
That's,
you know,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So, you know, you go undrafted, and then Summer League was right there after that. Is that right?
Yeah. Summer League was tough. You know, again, everyone talks about luck, how lucky you have to get. Yes, in sport, in life,
luck.
Like things have to, you know, business or whatever profession you choose, like you have to get lucky. That was a time, I think, where I was a little unlucky. I've actually talked about this on my podcast before. Like the ebbs and flow of luck and unluck are just constant in professional sports. And this was one where, you know, I had a good relationship with the Heat. I actually was in Bam's workout, pre-draft workout. It was me, Bam, Justin Jackson from North Carolina, and someone from Louisville. So again, you know, lottery pick and first round pick. And then I think the Louisville guy, if he wasn't picked, he was picked up by somebody. So high level workout. Pat Riley sitting there, you know, sideline. I think me and Bam get into it at one point, which the Heat, they love that kind of stuff. You know, so they liked me enough, brought me in for Summer League. I played well in training camp. I think I got into it with Bam again, which was misreported on. Someone was like, "Oh yeah, he didn't want that smoke" in this ESPN article. I was like, no, they pulled me off of him, because he's their franchise. So of course they're going to pull me off. Like, I mean, I'm just saying, I didn't back down.
They're not going to protect you.
No, absolutely not. But let's keep it real.
Yeah,
I wasn't backing away from it.
Bam's not scary.
Unbelievably strong at 18, though. I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Anyways, what happened was Bam was their guy, and then they said, hey, you know, he's going to play Orlando. That's when they had Orlando Summer League. He's going to play Orlando, maybe a couple games in Vegas, and then he's out. You're in, you know, so just be patient. I was like, cool. What happened was they traded. They had a summer trade. I can't remember who was swapped, but they acquired a young center from Dallas, this kid from Purdue. I can't remember his name. So they need to integrate him to the system. You know, he's only played a year or two in the league, so he's still a good, you know, prospect for Summer League and to get into the system. So he comes to our team as soon as we get to Vegas. So it's like all my minutes are then gone. You know, so I barely played. They still like me enough to invite me to camp. But again, kind of this unlucky streak I was on. I had just signed with the Italian team that I signed with. So it's like we told them, hey, we're going to sign in 7 days. Hey, we're going to sign in 3 days. Hey, tomorrow we're signing. So if we're going to do something, let's do something. And then 3 days after I signed, they're like, hey, you want to come to camp? So, you know, timing is everything. You have to be a little bit lucky because it's, like you said, it is a big business. It's a big entity. There's a lot of moving parts. And you're just a very small piece of it.
Well, and I imagine, you know, especially with the Summer League, I mean, everyone, is it like a pretty selfish game? Like, because
a little bit.
Like, I mean, everyone's trying to showcase what they can do, especially because the first couple of days, I mean, the stars play and then they kind of take a break.
It's just, it's a little bit selfish. I felt like the combine was way worse.
Yeah.
Because it was like you're thrown together.
Everyone's trying to show
Jerry
what they can do.
Stackhouse was my coach, and he was just like, here's 4 plays and like, just go do what you guys do.
I mean,
and
what's
it's
Jerry
like,
Stackhouse doing as a coach? Like, that's where I'm like,
yeah. I mean,
I love Jerry Stackhouse, but like,
I only bring him up because it's cool that he was my coach.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who it is. You can't be cohesive as a team.
Yeah.
You know, all those wonderful things I was talking about with Lone Peak, it's
just not the same.
It's non-existent when you have 4 days and you have guys that are trying to, like, the purpose of the combine is to stand out.
Yep.
So it's like you have to have your ego. That was really hard for me. Why I didn't stand out, because I'm a big guy, you know, it's guard dominated.
Yep.
It was like, it was glorified pickup. And that was a world that I had never lived in. I had always played organized, structured. I had a role. And so I didn't look great there. Summer League was a little bit better because you have a little bit more time, but not a lot. But again, you have guys who have a lot of pressure. They don't know the guys on the other team. They don't care about buying in. They're just like, if I look good, then the Heat look good for drafting me. Or if I look good, all these other teams look bad for not drafting me. So everyone kind of had like this ego and this personal agenda. And it definitely took me a second to figure that part out in the professional world and navigate it. And it's still hard to this day, like finding that balance.
Mm-hmm. So, you go through that whole process, and then did you go overseas first, or did you go with Stockton Kings?
No, so I had just signed, like I said, Miami came in late, which like is the biggest bummer to this day for me, because
it was there.
I'm a Miami Heat guy.
Yeah.
Like I play hard, I borderline dirty, I talk the whole game. That's who they like. You know, like Justin, who Justin Hamilton is?
Of course.
Yeah.
Lone Peak alum.
Yeah. So I think he's probably the same gap between you and I. He's maybe 5 years older than me. We work out a lot in the summer together. We played against each other in China, actually. But, I played against his team. He was sitting out. But, he told me for some reason his shoes didn't show up. He was drafted by the Heat.
Yeah.
His shoes didn't show up, and he had like a nice suit like for the pre-draft process.
Yeah.
So he said, F it, I'm just going to wear my nice dress shoes.
Yeah.
So he wore them for the workout. And he said they were just eating that up. Like they loved it. Loved it. They were like, this is a Heat guy.
That's
like
crazy.
He was running ladders and the whole, like in like dress shoes.
Wow.
So I feel like I fit that, the Heat culture, as corny as that sounds.
Well, I mean, you can see their jerseys this year. Their City League jerseys say Heat. They're terrible jerseys, but that just goes to show like how much they're trying to emphasize
the paint,
what they've built. Yeah.
You saw the paint.
Oh, hardworking.
No
loyal,
one works harder.
Yeah,
all that. That's rough. It looks like the scout.
It's bad.
Loyal, helpful, friendly.
Something.
You're not an Eagle Scout?
No.
Come on, man.
I got my arrow of light and I got out of there.
This is Salt Lake, Utah talk. We need some scouts.
I know. I was done.
No, I just think that paint is horrendous. But that sucked. But it is what it is. So I went to Italy, played for a first division Italian team. Second year went to another Italian team, but that was much better. That was in a European league as well. So we traveled. Halfway through that season, I had come in not fully recovered from a knee surgery. And so my timeline was pushed back, and there was bad communication between the agency and the team. And so I wasn't ready. I wasn't in shape, and I was a starting center. So, they were frustrated with that. And I think that carried, that kind of bad blood was harbored during the whole season. Well, at least for as long as I was there. So it culminated and got to a point where I was like, they're just not playing me because they're still mad about the knee. So I left, finished that season in Germany where I mentioned I played with David. Another, great team, great league. We played in a European league as well. And then the next year was when Sacramento reached out. Essentially, Stockton reached out. The GM of Stockton, and this is how all G League teams work. The GM of the G League team is an assistant GM for the big team.
Big team, yeah.
And so that's who had his eye on me for a long time. It's funny because we're like best friends to this day. He's the GM of Ignite. Yeah. And he does a lot of consulting with Team USA. So he's had my back for a long time, and he liked me. And so he said, hey, come in for a mini camp. So I think I did 1 or 2 mini camps with the Kings. I murdered them, went into summer league, murdered. And then they're like, you got to come to training camp.
Yeah. Well, you played for the Stockton Kings, and I saw you averaged like 18 and 12.
Yeah.
Like that you look at that on paper and you're like, that's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And the craziest, I think that's even crazier than that stat alone is like what NBA teams like are seeing in that, right? If I'm an owner or a coach of a team, I'm seeing 18 and 12, and I'm like, I have to have this guy on my team.
Yeah.
But I think it goes back to kind of the point we were making earlier where it's like the mold, it's like potential, that kind of thing. So you average 18 and 12, and you have to be thinking, this is it.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking this is it after Summer League. I had a conversation with Peja Stojakovic, who was the GM at the time. We were both checking out of the hotel at the same time, and he was like, I want you on the team.
Yep.
He's like, you like the way you play, what you do well, which was, just a couple of things is what we need. And, it's a role that needs to be filled. So at that point I was like, sweet, and then I went to training camp. We got there early. And we were playing basically pickup for 2 weeks before training camp officially started. And I was killing. Like, I think I was the best center in those 2 weeks, and we had guys on the team making $10 to $15 million a year. Right. And I was out playing them. So they were excited. I was getting a lot of good feedback. Multiple coaches were telling me like, hey, this is good. Like, keep doing what you're doing. Like, almost like hinting at like, you're going to, you're going to be here, and then it just didn't happen. And then, then the politics kick in where it's like, okay, do we really take this guy who we don't owe anything and he's going to be stored, nice in our back pocket with the G League team? Or do we cut somebody, pay them millions of dollars, and then bring this guy up to be, maybe an eventual rotation guy?
Yeah.
Like he's going to be end of the bench. That's who he's replacing. And so, of course, they're going to go with, let's just keep him in the G League.
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere.
But you get a game.
Yeah.
You get pull up for a game.
So that was later on.
Yeah.
So they cut me at the end of training camp. I went to the G League. I played, I think, 7 games. I was averaging like 18 rebounds.
Yeah.
My first game, I had like 25 boards. Like it was.
That's insane.
I was dominating. And I was like, this is kind of lame. I'm still mad about the Kings not keeping me. So I went to China. I got a really big offer in China. So I went there. It was kind of crazy over there. So I ended up coming back. And that's when, I jumped back in with the Stockton Kings. And that's when I got a call up. I got my game.
Yeah. So I looked up your very first NBA bucket.
Yeah.
It's a little Dirk fade.
Little Dirk fade.
It's a Dirk fade.
I've talked about this before. If you look closely, my leg buckles.
Oh, 100%.
Like
I'll throw it up on the screen.
It's so awkward.
Like it's a legit, it's a paint and it's a fallback, but you can just see little like
there's a little hitch.
like little hitch there.
Yeah.
And then just kind of wet balled it though.
Yeah. I had played I think 2 preseason games, which was like surreal, to have Luke Walton, look down the bench and be like, hey, you're on.
Yeah.
I think I was sitting like on the floor. I wasn't even on the bench during the preseason because you have a bigger team. But then, getting to the real thing, first of all, that morning they called and they're like, hey, we need you to come down.
Yeah.
Like you're getting called up. And I was like,
so is that like your welcome
time
to the NBA moment? Like, is something different, or is like that call like alone, like what that moment is?
That's
for
a good question. That's funny because I ask people that all the time. I've never been asked that. I think it was when I showed up to the facility. I talked to Vlade. He said some whatever. Who knows what?
Who knows what?
Who knows what? And then he's like, "Oh yeah, go. They're finishing shoot around, so go watch." I was like, "All right, cool." So I go down there. I didn't know we had a game because the G League, we just had a night game the night before. I don't know their schedule every day. So I go down, they're finishing shoot around, and I talked to the assistant coach, Jesse, who was the summer league coach, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize we had a game tonight. He's like, yeah. He's like, why do you think you're getting called up? I was like, oh, because they had a guy sick, they had another guy hurt. And then I was like, who are we playing? He's like, oh, the Lakers. I was like, geez. I think that was my welcome to the NBA moment because it was just like
the Lakers.
Yeah. That was the year they won. LeBron was killing everybody. And then he brought me up. We went and had lunch up in the team room, and he was showing me film while we were eating of how to guard LeBron when I switch onto him and how to guard AD. And I was just like, this isn't
That's
real.
the craziest thing in the world.
I still don't believe like it happened.
No.
It's so wild.
Like you're literally being taught how to guard LeBron. One, is there even an answer for that?
I was kind of just I was like,
I guess
I'm not going to guard LeBron.
Yeah.
He can score on me.
But like, that's crazy. Like you're being told like how to best defend literally, arguably the GOAT. And
I don't even think it's an argument.
You're on the LeBron side.
Yeah.
That makes 2 of us. I had this conversation.
I'm a recent convert.
Daily. I've been since birth.
I mean,
I've made a lot of
is,
people recent converts.
I just think if we're going to go down this rabbit hole, I just think going to the finals, what was it, 9 years in a row?
Yep.
With the teams that he had. Like, yeah, he had super teams too. He won with those teams, and the teams that he didn't beat in the finals are Hall of Famers. It's just, I don't know. I just think that the continuity is unbreakable.
Yep.
Like you just can't top it. And I don't know. I just think he's an animal.
I look at it as, he was literally had the biggest expectation of any player ever, and he's still
delivered.
He still went past that.
39, averaging like what, 26 9 and 8 or something.
Yeah,
Like,
like,
it's just absurd.
It's crazy. I mean, this could be an episode for a whole nother day because it's I could eat it up.
Anyways, I guard. Well, actually, I'm in the layup lines, and we like circle at the same time. You know, like we're coming to the end of our lines, and like we make eye contact, and he just looked straight through me. Like,
see, like I like to think I'm making eye contact when I'm yelling, "I love you, LeBron," you know, in the crowd. But you're in a layup line looking directly at.
I mean, he didn't see me though. Like that's the crazy thing. Like it's just he's bigger. He's larger than life for real. That was cool though. And then like I was talking about earlier, like Luke looking down and 5 minutes into the game being like, Eric, go in. I'm walking by. He's like, you got AD. I'm just like, what is life?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, it's so cool to look back on. And this is like the battle in life, right? Like being able to look back or being present, whatever moment you're thinking about and being grateful for it and appreciative that it happened, but also wanting more and also believing that you deserve more and working for more. You know what I mean? So I have that battle more like every single day where I'm just like, I'm so fortunate to have done that.
Yeah.
Like, what an unbelievable moment that like I'm going to talk about till the day I die
100%.
with my kids, my grandkids, like anyone who will listen.
Your son's gonna. The first thing he tells people is, "Yeah, my dad's played against LeBron."
Yeah, exactly,
like 100%.
Exactly.
That's the first thing he says
because he's going to be, you know, his generation's GOAT probably, or you know, they might get someone. It might be Wemby by then, but I played against him too.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, we'll get to that in a second. So,
but then being like, you know, it's not enough.
Yeah.
You know, being appreciative but wanting more. That's a hard part of life.
Yeah, it's a crazy balance. So, you know, we then go to, you know, where you're at right now, which is the G League Ignite, which is a new concept for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, it's a newer team.
Yep.
Right? It's the G League affiliate. Is that right?
Yeah, I describe it. I've got like a perfect note card for it because I just tell so many people about it. It's the NBA's minor league team.
Yeah.
So if you know anything about the NBA, obviously you know the G. If you're listening to this, you probably know something about it. Yeah.
I would hope so.
Every team has their G League team except for us. We don't have a parent, and that's because we're the NBA's essentially like pet project.
Well, and it's also become the place where you skip college.
Yeah.
You go straight to the Ignite for Scoot, you know, and then this year you have.
Well, the first year you had Jalen Green and Kuminga.
Mm-hmm.
Year 2,
and that was like the craziest thing ever. Like Jalen Green,
never heard of
generational talent. You know, jumping ship because before you could just go international, like Brandon Jennings and stuff like that. Like
which not many did.
No,
because there's just so much in the air.
Way too much risk. Where this is a way more safe spot.
This is the NBA's way of going. Oh, guys are capable of doing this and wanting to do this. Okay, let's have them do it, but right under our thumb and our direction and attention. So it's great. You know, they have NBA caliber staff at all positions. They have great facility. You know, they treat us like an NBA team in a lot of ways, not all the ways. You know, there's still G League aspects to it. Like we still fly commercial and take, you know, you hear any G League player talking about travel, like it sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, last year we took a red eye to Toronto. No, ended up in Toronto, but it's like we took a red eye to New York and then had a long layover and took like this little booster flight to Buffalo and then drove to Toronto. Like it's rough. NBA teams aren't doing that. But in a lot of ways we get treated like an NBA team, and it's so that the NBA can have a direct kind of impact on the development of these young guys who are going to get drafted very highly and hopefully have an impact on the league for a long time. The reason I'm there is because they want guys that are going to help them on the court, you know, that play the right way, that are good players, that are going to help them, you know, win or succeed and make everyone look good, but then also that are going to take the time and care enough, you know, to mentor these guys as people too, you know, which is what makes it really cool and a big draw for me.
No, it's a crazy thing. I mean, right, even now you have like overtime elite, little different things, and people are trying to model that kind of thing. But I think the G League has been overlooked, you know, for such a long time, where it's like this is just kind of a place where people can chill
and goof around.
And just like kind of stick around and not, you know, just try and live out the dream. Where the G League Ignite, I think, is reiterating that.
Yeah. What's been great, and I think why Ignite is continuing to become a better and better place for these guys, is I think the G League has gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
It was good when I was there with Stockton, you know, a couple seasons ago, or the 2019 and 2020 season. It's way better now, and it's continued. I mean, every team we play, if there's 12 guys on the roster, 8, 9, and sometimes 10 of them have NBA minutes or will soon have NBA minutes.
Yeah.
There's two-ways, there's assignments, there's guys who have been in the league a long time and they're just working their way back. Like the G League is a seriously talented league, and that's why it's, you know, good for Ignite and good for these young guys, because you put, you know, 18 a night against these pros, way better than 18 a night against, you know, the WCC or the Pac-12. It's like you have pros on each of those teams. You don't have 10 NBA guys, though, or 10 guys that touch the NBA,
100%.
which is not, you know, there's not a lot of people playing the NBA. There's only like 4,500 people or something that have ever played an NBA game, regular season game. And here you have multiple guys on every single team who are part of that very small group. And so it really helps the development of these young guys and humbles them in a lot of ways, because they're guys you've never heard of, but like they'll kill you if you don't take them seriously.
I mean, you played with Scoot last year, and you guys played against Victor Wembanyama.
We did, yeah. That was that was cool. I think the NBA was making a conscious effort of like, hey, let's pit these, you know, two high picks against each other. Let's build some more hype. You know, there's a lot of hype in Europe about Wembanyama. People are starting to hear about him in the States, but it's like, what better way to build that hype than just bring him here and put him in front of everybody in Vegas.
So you've guarded Wembanyama.
I did, yeah.
And I mean, obviously he hadn't touched an NBA court at the time, and he still had just as much hype as anybody else.
Yeah.
But like going into that, I'm sure the hype was crazy. I mean, you took the assignment. What was that like, and what did you see? What do you see his ceiling at?
Well, first of all, we should make sure that we establish the facts.
Yes.
Which is that I don't know how many points. I guess I can't establish facts if I don't know all the facts. But he had 2 great games, you know, statistically, points wise. I get so much heat for those games. I think one of them he had 37. But if you watch, no one watches except for me.
Yeah.
But if you watch, he probably went in the 2 games on me being directly guarded, not some switch, not some fast break where it's 2-on-1, like, and they throw an alley-oop. That's not me guarding him.
Yep.
Me guarding him, and maybe this will be the spark to get me to go watch it and get the exact numbers. He was probably like, I don't know, 6 for 19 or something. I mean, like, not that good, right? But I get so much heat for it because
nobody looks at the box score. That's how media is.
No, they just look at, he had 37.
It's 37, that's it.
Eric was guarding him the first play of the game.
They look at one dunk, and who's under him? Oh, me. He guarded him the whole game.
They also look at, 2 of his toughest buckets were on me. Like one where he was like awkwardly falling to his left.
Yep.
Like I don't even know how he reached close to the rim, made it. He had another fadeaway. My hand is in his face. So it's like, I don't know.
Well, that went viral because your hand is literally
too much
in front of his face.
I felt like leaving the game, I was like, okay, for me, it wasn't a big problem. I'm not playing the whole game, though.
Yeah.
I probably played 24 minutes. I probably played half because it was early on in the season, and they were still trying to showcase the young guys. But I did leave the game, both games, going, this kid's going to be a freak. I mean, like, once he because like with me, he struggled just because I was stronger than him. So there were a couple times where he was just trying to go through me, which just didn't make any sense. It was like the times he went over me, like that shot.
Yeah.
He had no problem. He didn't even see me. Like, I think he's been quoted saying that. Like, he doesn't even see the defender because he's just so tall. His release is so high.
Crazy.
So in my head, I was like, as soon as he figures out just to do that every time and really use what he has every single play, which is what he's doing now, he's going to dominate. And I thought that because someone that size who has that defensive presence and then can shoot the 3 like that, I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah. And so, like, does he fall under, your toughest players to guard? And if not, who are they?
Yeah, I think he would.
Uh-huh.
I mean, like I said, I didn't feel like huge troubles because he wasn't ultra efficient when he played us, but he was 18.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
what do you expect?
He was 18. I think we were playing NBA rules, so like you said, it was the first time.
I mean, you can't
playing like that.
For a lot of people that don't know. I mean, European rules are really different.
Really
the goaltending rules are completely different.
Goaltending, the 3 seconds in the key makes a huge difference. I mean, it's why we struggle sometimes in FIBA.
Oh, yeah.
in the World Cup and the Olympics. I mean, we win the Olympics, but why it's not just dominant.
Yeah.
But he was 18 and he was that much trouble. Yes, I think he'd be on the Mount Rushmore of people I've guarded.
So who is that Mount Rushmore?
Oof. People I've guarded at least one possession.
Let's go. Yeah, at least I think that's fine. I think that's
I'm gonna
fair.
put LeBron on
yeah,
there.
I mean, I think that's fair.
No, I can't put LeBron because I switched on him one time, and he,
I think it counts.
Shot clock was probably low.
I mean, face to face, you literally have a hand up on somebody.
He should have blown by me. He settled for the 3, which was in the scouting report. He missed.
Yeah.
So suck it. I'm not gonna put LeBron. I'm gonna put AD because he was tough. He's big. He's stronger than people realize. Unbelievably skilled.
Freak.
He also gets a lot of calls. I remember one time I was fronting him or 3/4ing. He spun off. He got the oop on the spin off, and I was just I was behind him. I was like, dang, just one of those plays that like he got me.
Yep.
And he missed the dunk. He threw it off the back.
And
of the
the
rim.
foul came after the miss.
They called the foul.
Yep.
And I was just like, that's so lame. Anyway, so he's tough. Wembanyama's tough. I played Andre Drummond in high school. He was unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean,
like
he's
a
still
man child.
finding his way.
I mean, dude, there were a couple seasons, wasn't he averaging like close to 20 rebounds?
20 rebounds.
So, and he was doing that in high school. Like his body, I don't think has changed since high school. Went to UConn early, graduated early. So he just man child. I'd put him up there. I'm going to throw... I know there's someone in the G League I feel like who was tough. Yeah, just because I can't think of anyone, there's so many guys, dude. I'm gonna give a little love to the country of Germany.
Okay.
And say Isaiah Hartenstein, center for the Knicks. Yeah, he's a good player. That's why he's always been on teams. And he was with the Rockets at the time. I think he was down with their G League team. We played him couple nights, and I mean he's just solid.
Yeah.
He's built like me, but he's 3 inches taller. So he was really strong, coming from Europe, very skilled, great IQ, and he just plays super hard. I mean, there's a reason he plays big minutes and crunch time minutes for the Knicks.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna throw him on my Mount Rushmore.
There we go.
People might not like that, and there's lots of other people I could throw on there that are probably bigger names, but he was tough.
Cool. Mount Rushmore, Eric Mika, right there. So
I kind of feel like I should take Hartenstein off.
It's still up to you.
All right.
We making a last second replacement, a nice little substitution.
I need like an NBA starter. Because I guess 3 out. Well, maybe Hartenstein does start, or does
Mitchell Robinson.
Mitchell Robinson starts.
Hartenstein gets good.
All right. I'm gonna go Jaren.
Well, because Team USA, I guess, still counts.
It's got to be someone from there.
Yeah, still counts.
I'm going to go with Jaren. I'm going to go with Paolo. Get out of here, Hartenstein.
No, I'm with that. Paolo is. So a little bit ago on our Jazz podcast, we ranked the last 5 number 1 overall picks.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
And we put Paolo at 2, got flack for not putting Ant up there, and I ended up being like, okay, Ant could go up as number 2. But people don't understand Paolo's skill.
Ant would be there if I ever switched on to him. I didn't, because this is a rabbit hole. But dude, there was a practice in Abu Dhabi where he looked like MJ, dude.
No, he's crazy.
I mean, he scored like 16 straight or something in this practice. Didn't miss a shot. Was dunking on dudes. Was blocking dudes. Was picking dudes' pockets.
Well, that was all over social media.
And
everyone said he did not miss single shot.
Even crazier than any of the reports.
Yeah.
Like, I could not believe it.
That's crazy.
So I'm gonna throw Paolo in there.
He's
so strong, dude. He's strong, and he's young, and will still dunk on you and can still shoot it. I mean, he's unbelievable. I left Team USA being impressed by so many people, seeing them up close. He might be number 1 for me.
No, he's special. I mean, honestly, while we're on the subject of Team USA, before we wrap up, would love to get, a quick, rundown on what that's like. I mean, I'll throw the picture up. It's a picture of literally you next to Chet with Jalen Green, with Anthony Edwards. That's a
Very
that's
cool.
a good group. Like,
Yeah, it was cool. It was, a big honor to be selected because there were, I think, over 50 guys that helped qualify. So to have that relationship with Team USA and for them to say, hey, we like how you play, we like what you do, so come help us a little bit more was really cool to be a part of that. And then, just walking in to like the first team meetings, we were kind of, me and two other guys were with both teams. We were with the select team and the big team because we were going to travel with the big team for practice. So being with both, I was around 25 really high level guys that are already there, guys that are really close to being there, all stars and all NBA. So very, very cool experience. Again, kind of touching on that battle in life that I was telling you about, like being appreciative that you have it, but then also being like, man, like I fit in. The scrimmage that I got in when I was with the select team, I played great. I probably played 10 to 12 minutes. I had 6 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists, and these are against NBA, like all pros, so kind of frustrating, kind of fulfilling. But a lot of really cool things happened in those 6 weeks.
Yeah. That's awesome. So kind of last thing, before we wrap up is your own pod.
Yeah.
Doing your own little pod. It's been
doing my own pod.
It's been awesome.
It's been fun. Kind of started as like a, dang, this is something I wish I would have had.
Yeah.
And it's just turned into something that I'm really glad that I found now.
Yeah.
Like the more athletes that I talk, it's called Now for Later. I talk to athletes about if they're current athletes, what are they doing to prepare for life after sports? Or if they're former athletes, what did they do? And what was that transition life or like? What do they wish they do? What do they do well? Just because, I'm at that point in my career, I think I'll play maybe 5 more years if I'm healthy. But I want to be conscious of that. I want to hit the ground running. I don't want to just be like my friends that I've played along, as pros and who are just like, oh yeah, I'll just see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing nowadays is people always say, I wish I did this.
Yeah.
Or they're like, if you could go back. Yeah. Those are like the biggest things you hear nowadays. And I think what you're doing is exactly that, is eliminating those thoughts and giving a platform where that's, already there and exists.
So even, things as small, we had Avery Bradley on the show and he was like, build a LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Like as simple as that. Like,
and it's crazy to hear Avery Bradley say that. I mean, he is
12-year NBA.
Literally 12-year vet. Like everybody knows Avery Bradley.
Right.
So like for him to say something like that, like that's something you don't get.
That's the idea is I was fortunate before the podcast to have these conversations with some really cool people who have done it. And I was like, everyone needs to hear this. Everyone needs to hear Steve Young saying, even though I played in the NFL for 18 years and, am first ballot Hall of Famer, 2-time, Super Bowl, all these MVPs, like all that. He's like, I always had a plan.
Yeah.
A plan B. Like Steve Young had it. So you as a high school player should have it. You should take school seriously. You should try and get a scholarship. You should go to a school where you can challenge yourself academically. Like, so I think it's been really cool for me to hear, which is like why I'm continuing to do it. Cause I'm like, it's building my network. It's helping me make decisions that are going to help me in the long run.
Yeah.
But then I really, really think that if you're an athlete trying to figure out what's next, it's great for you. But also if you're just a person that likes hearing stories of perseverance and, how these people were able to overcome a lot of things to get to where they are and then continue in that mindset once they've shifted, where they are in their life. I mean, it's really cool. We've had some really, really cool guests and really cool stories.
Yeah. I'm a big fan. So
appreciate
for
that.
those out there, I mean, you better start tuning in.
Yes.
Now what
we're going to have, there's for sure going to be some collaboration between the two pods at one point.
But Eric, this has been fun, man.
Yeah,
like,
I've had a blast. I feel like I've talked your ear off, but
hey, that's what you're here for.
It's different being like I'm now kind of used to being the host, which is like weird for me. So I feel like I talked so much, but I'm like I guess that is. The guest is supposed to talk a lot.
But like, I mean, for anybody that knows me, like this kind of interaction is like what I have always dreamed of like growing up and like kind of where I like to put myself in. And so, I'm really appreciative of like your time and, being willing to come on the show and, hopefully we can, keep linking up in the future.
Yeah.
So
no, I like I said, I think there's a real chance for collaboration because, like I mentioned in the beginning, what you guys are doing is cool and it's going to catch on. Like it already is, but I really think it's going to be big. So
appreciate that.
I appreciate you guys bringing it on. I think what you're doing is awesome.
Awesome. Well, this has been the STLK in the UTA Hive podcast. I'm Conjo with Eric, Mika, and we'll catch you back sometime soon.